So, Batgirl has been involved in some compromising situations, to say the least. However, none have ever been as risque as a certain scene from a Batman special, which takes place within the DCAU continuity, a scene that was originally planned to be even more provoking, and a scene that has gone to become somewhat of a staple within online users, for other kinky reasons. This is the story behind Bruce Timm's infamous Batgirl changing scene. After the success of both Batman the Animated Series and the comic book tie-in Batman Adventures, producer, developer, and father of the animated style as well as the visual godfather behind the entire DCAU, Bruce Timm, has frequently served as both writer and illustrator to several specials and short stories. And back on 1993, a Christmas-themed Batman one-shot special was released. This holiday special featured several Christmas short stories, with one of them being illustrated by Bruce Timm himself, where we get to see Batgirl in her daily life as Barbara Gordon, doing some last-minute Christmas shopping at the Gotham Mall. Meanwhile, detectives Harvey Bullock and Renee Montoya are working undercover, posing as the shopping mall Santa and his helper, while investigating a series of robberies that have been going on undetected. Now, there's a very sweet moment with Harvey Bullock, where a little girl asks Santa, or Harvey Bullock dresses Santa, if he can get her dad out of jail for Christmas. When Harvey realizes that the girl's father is the man he had previously arrested, Bullock gives the girl some money so she can buy herself something nice, when suddenly both Barbara and Renee notice something weird happening, as a group of kids are stealing several expensive items, in what seems like a coordinated strike. Barbara and Renee chase and eventually corner the kids, and just as they are about to confront the thieves, they all mesh into one. As it turns out, those little robbers were in fact Clayface. This revelation causes an uproar within the Christmas shoppers, which Barbara takes advantage of by changing into Batgirl undetected. And this, dear viewers, is the scene that has been talked about for years and years. However, it's not really because of the fact that she suits up as Batgirl that is noteworthy, but rather how, as we can see some interesting panel choices, which by the way are excellently drawn by Bruce Timm, as he not only is an excellent illustrator, but an excellent storyteller as well. And as you can see, all the panels work quite well within the story, so there's no problem there. However, given how this comic takes place within the animated series continuity, which is aimed for kids, well, it's not too hard to see why some people found this scene to be a little inappropriate, to say the least. However, in all fairness, nothing too scandalous can be seen, and everything shown is pretty harmless. Anyways, the story concludes with Batgirl joining Bullock and Montoya in taking down Clayface by electrocuting him while he's partially wet. But it doesn't really end there, because years after the release of this holiday special, the original uncut Batgirl changing scene from the story was released, and needless to say, the rejected original page was way more revealing and far less subtle than the final version, as we can very much see Batgirl changing in front of the running crowd. This uncut version of the changing scene has been roaming online for quite a while, with online users editing the panels to make it seem a little more explicit. Now, the published version of the Batgirl changing scene hasn't really escaped this type of treatment, having gone through several different edits, recreations, and recolorings, which has kept the Batgirl changing scene fresh in people's minds. Now, it's no secret that Mr. Bruce Timm is a man of a particular taste, a taste that has made him favor certain characters over others, particularly Batgirl, who under his wing has been depicted to be not only the ideal mate for Batman, but also far more attractive than characters who are supposed to be the epitome of physical perfection. By the way, this is not a knock on either Bruce Timm or Batgirl. I love them both, I really do. And Batgirl is supposed to be beautiful. just not on the same level as the bombshells on Batman's life. However, this has never really stopped Bruce Timm from presenting Batgirl as a sensual object of desire. I mean, just take a look at the way Bruce Timm depicts Batgirl, whether in animated or comic book form. His Batgirl is always the prettiest girl from the bunch. In fact, under his wing, Batgirl was the prettiest woman in Gotham City, period. And no matter what episode, special, or movie, his Batgirl was always visually unmatched. Now, on September of 1997, Batman the Animated Series morphed into the Batman the New Adventures show, which premiered with the episode Holiday Nights, and was essentially an animated adaptation of the Batman Holiday Special from 1993. Featuring 3 of the stories from that same special, including Batgirl's story. And yes, we do get a very faithful adaptation of that story, complete with a Batgirl changing sequence. Now, given how Bruce Timm clearly favors Batgirl over other Bat-related women, I think it's pretty safe to say that he sees Batgirl as the ideal mate for Batman, as he tends to pair them up as more than just teammates. Now, I'm not delving on the strange Batman Nightwing Batgirl situation that was brought by Batman Beyond, as that is a subject for another time. However, I will say that Batman and Batgirl were confirmed to have been a couple, at least for a while, on Batman Beyond. Sadly, the DCAU ended back in 2006, save for a few moments where it's been brought back temporarily. However, the spicification of Batgirl didn't really stop there. Oh, no. On 2016, Bruce Timm produced and developed an animated adaptation of the Alan Moore and Brian Boland classic masterpiece, Batman the Killing Joke, where Bruce Timm finally got his wish and actually showed Batman and Batgirl doing the ugly dance, the hanky-panky, the yabba-dabba-doo, and I think it's pretty clear what I'm trying to say. But regardless, this animated film is widely considered to be quite distasteful. Now, after that film, Bruce Timm hasn't officially worked on Batgirl outside of a few commissions and variant covers here and there. Unless you count the Barbara Gordon from Caped Crusader, which is not really Batgirl, but eh. But regardless, who knows, he might actually return for something even riskier. But in spite of what may or may not happen, all this Batgirl spicification began on this wonderful Batman holiday special that has divided audiences for decades. And it all started with this little story. Anyways, what about you, dear viewers? What do you think of Bruce Timm's favoritism for Batgirl, or the way he depicts her, or the situations he puts her in? As always, thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you in the next one. Be safe and well. And remember that beauty is not just a state of the body, but also a state of mind. So be your own kind of beautiful.